Rachel Whitworth considers herself a connection catalyst, and she's the founder of Let's Be Authentic, and she's here with us now. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing so well. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks.
Now, can you just describe to us, first of all, the basic idea behind Let's Be Authentic and what it actually is?
Yeah, so basically, I create opportunities for people to make more meaningful connections. So I really focus on both the skills and concepts of how to be a better communicator, how to, create those meaningful connections
Yeah.
by just the way that we show up. But then also I host workshops and classes where we get to actually meet people and connect with each other using some fun activities that are designed to make connection really easy and fun.
Yeah. And why is it important to have a good connection with another person?
Well, I think connection is often overlooked as such a fundamental need. I mean, it's kind of, to me, it's as important as, eating and sleeping and drinking
Yeah.
water. There's a way that we don't really touch on that, the fact that human connection is really fundamental. And I mean, I've noticed a difference in myself. I mean, even since the pandemic, just noticing like the impact of, less connection.
Oh, yeah.
And on days when I'm, in complete isolation, I start to feel my nervous system shift. Like I'm really sensitive to it now that I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
There's a way like, oh, yeah, my body needs to be around people and needs to, even get physical contact, hugs and all that stuff. So,
Yeah. Why do you think that is that you want that? Because even now, when we're here kind of looking at each other with the video on, do you feel that the connection still wouldn't be the same if we were in the same room?
well, I think there's different levels of connection. I mean, right now, you and I can connect on, we can see each other. So there's a visual connection, and certainly, we can share and understand each other emotionally and mentally. I do think there's some other levels of connection that are missed on the virtual sense, but there's still a lot of great stuff that can be reaped from, just being able to talk on a video. I mean, I'm so thankful for the technology, especially in this last year. I think a lot of people were still able to get some form of connection, which is great.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. What would it have been like before,
Yeah.
before having all the technology? Like I can't even imagine.
Oh, yeah. The pandemic in like the 70s. Ugh, that would be weird.
Yeah, it would be an extra layer of like really scary kind of. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to even think about. And people have lived through it. I mean, the Spanish flu
Yeah.
was a thing before the internet.
Yeah, I wonder how they did that, because I don't know. Did they do lockdowns then? I know I've seen pictures of them wearing masks and stuff, but I don't know if they would have had lockdowns as a concept. I don't know.
Right. I thought about that too. Like, how would they even communicate? Like, don't leave your house.
Yeah,
Because
because if you think about it, I suppose the Spanish flu killed millions of people. Maybe that's because they didn't do any lockdowns and just let it happen. I don't know. So maybe
yeah.
they did see each other and died as a result. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So, what are the best ways you can sort of train yourself to be better connected to somebody?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of concepts that I teach. A lot of it kind of boils down to being more present
Yeah.
with what's going on inside and awareness as to why we do the things that we do. So one of the real basic things that I touch on is assumptions and judgments, because we all have them. They're, a natural part of human nature to have these assumptions. And yet how often are we actually living as if they're a reality and not checking them out, or not at least being aware that they are just a story until we confirm that they're reality? And so how is that impacting our interactions? There might be somebody that you might encounter at some type of a event that you might have assumptions about, which prevent you from actually going up and talking to them, or, so how does it change the way that we show up if we start to notice something like our assumptions and choose to do something different? Oh, I have a story about this person, so I'm actually going to like go check it out with them and see if it's true, or like get to know them and see if it's true, or maybe just put it aside and see what reality actually is. So that's one of the very basic concepts, and there's a lot of other ones that we touch on in the different classes and stuff, but there's just so many ways that we can become more aware of what's actually going on between us relationally as we're connecting. make it so much easier to navigate.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I'd say myself included, are quite shy, so would find it really hard to have a connection with somebody, especially if they're a stranger. So what kind of advice do you have for people that just want to kind of just be a little bit more confident to ask for directions and things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, I think that so what I teach is actually a practice. So if you come to the classes and workshops, you actually start to work the muscles of communicating in a way. So we do these structured exercises where there's different instructions that we're going to do. There's time limits, like you'll have 2 minutes to talk about this or whatever. And so by doing it, it's just like if you think of another practice like yoga or meditation or something where on the yoga mat, I'm like doing these moves, and it's like, it's really also impacting the way that I feel in my day-to-day life if I'm doing it as a practice. Because now maybe I feel better because I'm more stretched out, I have stronger muscles. So there's a way that I'm like standing up straighter and able to do my day-to-day stuff. It's the same with this practice. There's a way that by practicing in a real structured environment, connecting with these different activities and exercises that are designed to make connection easy, then by going out in the real world, those muscles are a little stronger, and it becomes, the awarenesses are stronger and we can show up differently. I mean, my life completely changed by having this practice kind of in my back pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you find that sort of the more people you practice talking to, you become more confident and better at having connections with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to, the phrase like, perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's really, if you are practicing, with this type of work where there is some intentionality behind what you're doing and like what we're thinking about, then absolutely, the more people that you interact with, the stronger those muscles are going to be, and the easier it's going to be to communicate with others on a regular basis. And if you're, continuing to do the same things that you've been doing, but doing it, with multiple people, it may not give you the results you're looking for. So it really depends on what you're focusing on while you're talking to people.
Yeah. And why do we need your help to be able to connect? What is wrong with us humans that we can't do it without your help?
Well, I think that these types of skills are not taught. At least in the US, it's like, this is not something that's touched on. Relational, work is just not focused on. And so unless we have people around us in our personal lives modeling how to really communicate and connect in a real meaningful way, where do we learn it? So it's really something that, for myself, I know I actually, because of the way I was brought up and not having that example of, how to connect well, I had the belief that like some people just have it and some people don't. It's like sitting next to a piano player and going like, oh, they're really good, they must just have it. And it's like, no, there was the skill involved and there's techniques involved. And it's similar with, connection, that we can actually learn the skills and become people who do enjoy connecting. Yeah. So I think it's really important. And my dream is that everything changes with how things are taught. And in just that, people are aware of this stuff at a younger age, and then I won't be needed.
Yeah. And to use another phrase that's kind of maybe overused, is there an element of fake it till you make it? You can sort of act confident even if you're a really shy person and be like, hey, do you know where McDonald's is? When that's not really the real you.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, we talk a lot in this practice about authenticity. So it is kind of an interesting question of like, where does it fall into like kind of acting confident if it gets you kind of out the door versus, actually being, if you were being your authentic self, you might be like, oh, cowering and not really asking. So I do think there is a value in faking it till you make it in certain contexts, like in believing in your own body that you can do a thing. And that's really what it's more about than being fake or inauthentic. And there is also a level, one of the other concepts we talk about in this practice is leaning into your edge, like leaning out of your comfort zone. So is there a way that you can challenge yourself in service of your own growth to like, I'm going to do a thing I don't usually do. And maybe that's ask this person for directions, have it, or pick up a conversation with this person at the bar, like I'm going to do a thing that's uncomfortable, but I'm doing it hoping that it will have a reward, which is that I'll get more connection than I'm getting right now.
Yeah, and to be completely honest, I'm faking it right now.
Yeah.
I'm a very shy person and I'm pretending to be confident because I'm on the radio. That's how it works.
Yeah. So what is that like for you? I'm curious, like, how is it for you to fake the confidence, knowing that you're shy?
I think that in the beginning it was quite hard, but now I've interviewed like hundreds of people. It feels sort of natural, and I suppose it's sort of became real in a way. So I guess I have made it, maybe.
You faked it and now you made it.
Yeah. And I suppose if you're scared of going up to somebody, what's the worst that can happen? They're not going to turn around and be rude to you just because you asked about something.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what I think about is what is the why behind the things that we do or that we don't do. So yeah, if we're, I mean, I think in some cases people might not even explore that, like, oh, I'm actually afraid to, and here's why I'm afraid to go up to this person. But like, if you really sat and thought about, like, what is it that has me afraid? Like, it might be interesting to kind of pull that apart and see, like you said, like, what's the worst that's actually going to happen? This person might ignore me or not answer me, but I can walk away and say, okay.
Yeah, for sure. So how come you know so much about people's connections? Have you done your own research, or is it just from your experience?
Yeah, I mean, this has been my life's passion. I mean, it was such a pivotal point for me when I learned that there's a different way to be.
Yeah.
And so I just am a sponge with everything around me when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I certainly have a lot more to learn. And I love helping to share with others. Like, the more I learn, the more I just want to share it with others, as far as there's other ways to be. There's other ways to be. It doesn't have to be so hard to be in connection and so lonely in life. Because I think that's really what it comes down to, is like, are you getting what you want out of connection? I think so many people are being depleted by connection, and then they isolate because they're like, why would I want that? Why would I want to like empty my tank by communicating with people? And what I'm out here to say is that there's a way to actually be nourished by connection, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? There were so many people last March making this one joke, which was, I've been self-isolating for 25 years, so this pandemic makes no difference to me.
Right. Yeah, I imagine there's quite a few people who were okay with staying at home.
Yeah.
Given that, yeah.
And is there anything wrong, really, if somebody decides actually they don't want to have good connection with people, they want to keep themselves to themselves and live a peaceful life on their own in their house?
I think everyone is completely welcome to create whatever they want in life. You know, if someone is not seeking more meaningful connection and wanting to just be on their own, I mean, that's really ultimately for them to decide. And I fully support whatever people want, you know, like I'm available here for the people who are going, there's something else out there, isn't there? But yeah, that's not going to be everybody. And I think if you're getting your needs met from, you know, how you're doing what you're doing, I say go for it.
Yeah. And do you think there are quite good long-term benefits of having connections with people? Like, could it progress you in your career or just increase your happiness maybe?
Oh, all of that. I mean, there are specific health benefits of having connection. I mean, they actually link loneliness to similar health effects as smoking, believe it or not. Like, yeah, and smoking a lot too. It's really, it does have an impact on our physiological state of being. But then, yeah, you mentioned career and happiness. Absolutely, it has the potential of, I mean, the more you are comfortable connecting with people, I mean, think about it. People are everywhere.
Yeah.
People are in jobs, people are in friendships, people are in relationships. So if you feel comfortable as a person connecting, then it becomes this open door for changing just about everything in your world. And that was my experience. It's definitely made I have a different world than I did before learning all this.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, where are we able to check out all your services if we're interested in having a good connection with all these strangers and friends?
Yeah, so if you go to my website, letsbeauthentic.com, that's where all the workshops and classes and other resources are available. So yeah, I'd love to have you come check it out and see me at letsbeauthentic.com.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show today. It's been great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.